just going to press record now. That's so we can obviously share the recording afterwards, and if you have any colleagues who couldn't attend and you'd like them to watch the session, we'll be able to send that link around later on. So just as an introduction really, if for those who've come in since I said hello at the beginning, I'm Michelle Saunders, Workplace Health Coordinator for Medway Council, and I cover Medway and Swale. With me today I've also got James Flower, who's Healthy Settings Programme Manager for the Kent and Medway Healthy Workplaces Programme. My colleague Ricky is managing the chat box, so if you do have questions through this session or need to say anything, just pop that in there and Ricky will reply to you. If there's anything that needs an ongoing discussion, we'll come back to you after the meeting. And we're also really lucky to be joined by Elizabeth Williams from Connect5 this afternoon. She's up in sunny Manchester, so the power of technology has meant she hasn't had to travel down the motorway and sit in endless traffic or use the train, so she's in the comfort of her own home. And we're also joined by Stuart, a Wellbeing Lead at National Grid Grain LNG, and we'll be hearing from both of those a bit later on. Just some very brief housekeeping to run through. Obviously, I think we're getting all very familiar with these Zoom webinars now. So if I can ask you to stay on mute during this session, if you want to ask a question, please do so via the chat box. If you're not sure where that is, if you just hover over the control bar, and if it's not on mine, it displays under more. So you may need to click more and then see the chat box. But feel free to ask questions and speak to us in there. There isn't going to be very much opportunity for questions during the session. We are quite tight for time, so anything we don't get to cover, or if you have ongoing questions, we do have 2 Q&A sessions, which are on the 28th of the month and the 3rd of November. That'll be more of an opportunity for an informal discussion with a panel of the workplace health team, and we'll give some details of how you can book onto those at the end of the session, if you haven't already done so. And please do be social. It's very difficult having a virtual session, but please do tweet about today's session using the hashtag KMHealthyWorkplaces. You can use that on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, any of those other platforms, and obviously we're about to pick up those conversations later on with you. So I've introduced myself and the team. So the first section we're going to talk about this afternoon is just a very brief introduction as to why workplace health matters, and then we'll be looking more in sort of the context of mental health in this seminar. So I'm not going to read out all these stats, hopefully you can see that nice and clearly on your screen, but just to highlight a few key ones. So 1 in 3 people of working age report having at least one long-term health condition, and that's set to rise to 40% in the next 10 years. If you just think about the size of your own workforce, and certainly within the local authority and a number of businesses we work with, that really is a significant amount of people. And obviously want to do all that we can to help them to stay well and healthy at work, to manage those conditions, prevent them from going off sick, and to enable them to have that good quality of life. Thinking of mental health, stress costs the UK economy about £3.7 billion a year. So obviously a huge cost to society, the communities, and to businesses. Cost to businesses, so nationally we lose about 131 million working days to sickness absence, and just to put that into context, so the average SME in Kent and Medway could be looking at about £40,000 a year spent on sickness absence. That's not just sick pay, but the on costs of covering jobs with overtime or agency staff, the management time, occupational health referrals, and all the on costs of reasonable adjustments. That can be a huge cost to businesses. So anything that we can do to help people stay well, stay in work, lead healthier lifestyles and not get ill is obviously a real great benefit. And as you can see, there are lots of working days lost to depression and anxiety, and also musculoskeletal problems, another big loss of working days. And actually there are some quite key links, which we won't really be looking at today, but there are key links between mental health and musculoskeletal health. We've got some more information on the website if that's something you're interested in. And then obviously some just more general facts around health at work. So alcohol affecting 20% of workplace accidents, and often people who are feeling stressed might start to drink a bit more, have a knock-on effect in other areas within the workplace. So that's sort of the main business reasons. Why does workplace health matter? So back in 2008, which seems like quite a long time ago now, that a report called Working for a Healthier Tomorrow came out from Dame Carol Black. and she really evidenced that working was good for health, or good work I should say is good for health. So someone who's in good work is healthy at work, they'll be more productive at work, as it shows on this diagram. That in turn makes the business that they work in more competitive. That's good for economic development and prosperity in the community and nationally. That leads to individuals having better social health and well-being, social wealth, and that in turn improves good work health. So that's that nice upward cycle of feeling healthy, feeling engaged, feeling good about ourselves, which is good for the workplace, it's good for families, it's good for the local area. And that also helps address that productivity gap. We often hear things about that in the news, saying that other countries are more productive, or certain industries are not as productive as they were or could be. But actually improving health and well-being has been shown to help people function better and be more productive in the workplaces where they are. Obviously, we're living in this pandemic, and there's been you can't deny the impact that COVID has had on health at work and on our mental health. This slide has got a lot of statistics on it, and I won't read them all out, but it's just to really highlight the importance of mental health at work at the moment. I think we've all suffered or dealt with mental health in one way or another, whether it was feeling a bit isolated, working remotely and upset to our usual routines. So just to run through some of these, so traditionally 1 in 6 people suffer with mental ill health in a year. The Office of National Statistics did some surveys sort of back in June and July, and 8 in 10 people that filled that in reported having some sort of mental health problem in the last 12 months. So a significant increase in rates of mental health. Bupa carried out some surveys as well, which found that 72% of senior executives experienced poor mental health during the pandemic. And 56% of people with existing health issues said that those had actually become worse during the pandemic. So it does make quite some grim reading, really. Lots of people feeling much worse than they did. A 3-fold rise in the rates of reported anxiety and depression. It's not all bad news. I think the whole pandemic has thrown the spotlight on mental health and why it's so important that we take care of ourselves and our colleagues and each other. The fact that the top box there, it says an increase in abuse towards customer-facing workers. So retail union Usdaw did some research amongst their own members and reported quite a significant increase of abuse towards sort of shop workers and those frontline workers, which I think is replicated in sort of healthcare and highways and waste and things, where people have to do those key jobs, but people's tempers are a bit frayed and people are under a lot of stress and are perhaps not as kind as they could be. So it's something that we can all think about, how do we treat our Amazon delivery driver when he's rushing about bringing us our bits of shopping and things we've ordered, and can we just take that 5 minutes to say thank you in the supermarket? Those small things can make a really big difference. It's not all bad news though. Some of the research that's been done did find some positive outcomes. So the Bupa survey found that as a result of the pandemic, 51% of employees are now more likely to seek mental health help than they would have before the pandemic, which I think is actually a really positive thing, that people now feel more able to speak up and ask for help if they need it. 70% of employees are feeling more grateful within the past few weeks. I think when things are taken away from you, it does make you appreciate what you've got. And 56% of bosses admit that the pandemic had prompted them to reassess their business goals and their values. I think when things get shaken up, it does make you look at things. So if that's something that you're doing in your workplace at the moment, looking at reassessing your goals and values, it's a perfect opportunity to consider mental health in the workplace and how you might look after staff that bit better. And then 52% of business owners have increased their focus on health and well-being, and we've certainly seen a much more interest in what we're doing in terms of the Healthy Workplace programme in Kent and Medway, which I think does reflect that renewed interest. Just one question for you, perhaps you can answer it in the chat box, but how many of your businesses functioned fully without the staff during the lockdown? I think it just really goes to show what a key asset our people are in our teams and how important it is to look after them. I'm now going to hand over to Elizabeth, and she's going to talk about mental health with us this afternoon, which is, I'm sure, the key thing that you've all come along to hear. So Elizabeth, if you'd like to unmute yourself, I'll hand over to you.
Okay, thank you. Can everyone hear me? Is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear
Okay. Yeah, I've got a bit of a dodgy internet connection. When there's so many people in our street all working, sometimes somebody gets thrown off it. So if I disappear, that's what's happened, and I'm really hoping it doesn't. So, okay, let's think about mental health a little bit more, and we can think through a program that we've developed called Connect5, which is about it's a public mental health training program. So, I want to think about mental health from a public health perspective, really. So, if you go on to the next slide. So, yeah, so there's been a gradual swell of kind of challenge to our understanding of mental health, to move from a place where we largely see mental health as mental illness into expanding our concept of mental health and thinking of it from a kind of population perspective. So this paper came out from the Mental Health Foundation, if you go back, last year. Oh no, go back, Michelle. That's it, yeah. And better mental health for all. And what it really says is that public mental health is not really it's not different from normal public health that we know quite a lot about, and that we have to stop seeing this kind of mind and body as separate things, because the evidence really doesn't support that anymore. And most importantly, we know what the determinants of public health are, and they're no different for public mental health. So we've already got lots of expertise and knowledge about how we start to improve population mental health. So you can go on now. And then just to help us understand that is to think about mental health. It's a massive, big umbrella term. Mostly what we think about when we think of mental health, so if you click on Michelle, we think about mental illness, problems, conditions, and for years we've kind of looked at mental health through that lens only, and we've trained around that, and we kind of understand diagnosis and all those things. But actually that's not the whole picture, because this is an umbrella term, and under that umbrella is another aspect of mental health that's just as important. So you can click, which here we're talking about mental well-being. Now this is something everybody can relate to. It's about feeling good and doing well in life. So building a life that gives you a good feel, doing things that give you a good feel, because that's really, really an essential ingredient to our mental health and all of our mental health. So there's this aspect of mental health that is about mental illness and conditions, but there's also this other aspect that's about everyday well-being, something that we can all start to think about, and something we've all got expertise in, because we're all humans together. It's not so easy maybe as the mental health conditions, because it's not a scientific thing. We're not measuring it. We haven't got treatments for it. But that as well is what makes it quite exciting and makes it something that we can all own and have expertise in. So if you go on, and certainly we know that lots of us are interested in this. So that was a stat before COVID, was that self-help books, the sale of them had gone up by 20%. So after COVID, who knows, they've probably gone up even more. And our investment and the income generated from this huge wellness industry that's developing is £1 billion. So we're investing a lot in this idea of, well, what do I need to make myself feel good? How do I make myself feel well in the world? If you go on, and certainly the evidence shows us that well-being, so not mental illness, but mental well-being, is absolutely crucial to overall mental health. So it's a crucial aspect of it. You can't have complete mental health without having this sense that your life's going well and that you feel good about it. It's also a protective factor. When we've got high well-being, it helps us protect our physical health as well. So this idea that minds and bodies are separate isn't held out at all in any of our evidence. People with high well-being take less risky lifestyle behavior, have less risky lifestyle behaviors. So they smoke less, they drink less. Think about it. When you feel good about your life, you're much, much less likely to do those things. Or if you do them, they're in moderation. people, even the evidence shows that feel good about their life and have a good and feel good about and have a character that feels good in life live longer. In fact, 7.5 years that live longer. So even when you control actually for things like risky health style behaviors like smoking and drinking, people with good positive aspects to their life live about 7.5 years longer than others. So I always say that if you are going to smoke and drink, make sure you're really happy doing it so that you can balance the effect of those things. And we know that poor well-being, not just poor mental illness, but poor well-being costs us dear in as individuals, families, and as Michelle showed us, in our workplaces and in our communities and societies. So the spotlight, okay, Michelle, you can go on, has begun to shine on this aspect of mental health that we've neglected. And if we go back again, like Michelle said, policy world, pre-COVID, it seems like another world, but we can go right back in the mental health policy to 1999, which was the seven standards for mental health. And standard 1 was that we should promote mental health for all. So it way back has got a long history, back in 20 years. So if you keep clicking through, and then that was in 2011, the coalition government headlined their mental health policy with promoting mental health for all. And that's where that mantra came, that mental health is everybody's business. And then since then, there's been a whole proliferation of documents and policies that tell us that we need to focus on this population approach to promoting mental well-being for everybody. Sadly, there was loads of policy, but there was never much money, which is why we've all in public health been trailing behind, really. So if you go on, and certainly then in other campaigns, there's been obviously the Time to Change and the royal family heads together, everybody saying we need to change the conversation about mental health. So it's not just about mental illness. But when we ask our workforce, our managers, our workforce, our workplaces, all sorts of places in our system, you can click through. Why don't you have conversations about mental well-being? What gets in the way? And this is the idea of a can of worms, that people who aren't in mental illness services just feel frightened. They feel that they're going to do some damage to somebody, they're going to release strong emotions that will be damaging. Everybody thinks they don't have the right skills. Everybody imagines that there's some really specialist skills that only those special people can talk about mental health. And everybody feels they haven't got enough time. And basically, we're all frightened of doing it. So you can click on, and that's why we that's why we designed and developed Connect5. So the passion and the aim around Connect5 is to equip more of us to feel confident to have conversations about mental well-being, mental health, just as part of our conversations. So we've designed a program where we want to increase the skills and confidence of all of us to have enabling conversations. We've pulled in the contemporary evidence, and we really put that together so we train up people to have enabling conversations to help people make changes to improve their mental health and well-being. But of course, at the same time, within those conversations, we might be coming across high levels of distress, even suicidal thoughts and feelings. So we'll be prepared to that. We're building in, knowing what to do and where to help people get to, so that they get specialist help in a timely manner. Okay, you can go on. So what we're teaching in Connect5 is to change conversation. So we teach what is a well-being conversation. So the 3 C's of connected conversation, which is an open conversational feel, a compassionate feel to it, and using skills that we all have, but just in an artful way, in a sensitive way. So you can go on. The models we use, we're teaching that idea again, that mental health isn't just about an absence of illness, it's also the presence of something positive, and that positive is mental well-being, that sense that our life is going well and we feel good about it and we're doing good. And the doing good is these 5 ways to well-being, which is the evidence say are the nearest we get to meeting our human need. And when we meet our human needs, we feel good about life and we build up our resilience and our store for when life isn't so good, so that we can manage those times. And we also teach, we use a CBT model, but it's not therapy, so we use strategies and principles from that world, pull it out of the therapy world and use it at a self-help level, so people can know why they feel like they do and what they can do about it. So we're teaching at that self-help level. Okay, you can go on. And we gradually build up for a Connect5 Toolbox. So if you click on, again, we're using strategies that are used in therapy, but applying the principles so they can be used at a self-help level. So more of us can understand how to look after our own and our families and our work colleagues' mental health, and how people help themselves to better mental health. So take proactive action, so action to look after our mental health, to stop it tipping into mental ill health, and also just taking action so we feel better about our life, because again, the evidence shows that's really important to us and our human well-being. Okay. The package has been made for the system, by the system, so we've used lots of different expertise in this. We've used the 5 areas, which is Professor Chris Williams. We've worked with the Royal Society of Public Health, and we've worked with Health Education England, and we've also worked with Manchester University as well. So you can click on. And you can see this just little track to see that we've delivered it nationally. It started off in Manchester, and then it lived there for quite a while, undergone quite a lot of refinement, and then we took it nationally. And that's where we trained your colleagues at Medway that were on board, came on board first in 2017, and then had some more training in 2018, and actually just been up there this year, didn't I? In between lockdown, I actually got there for a few days. And currently we're rolling Connect5 out across the whole of the Greater Manchester area as well. Okay. And just in terms of we have some evidence, and if anyone's interested, happy to send this evidence report to you. So you can see here that we trained all aspects of the workforce. So again, this passion that it shouldn't be just about mental illness services. It's everybody who's having conversations can benefit from learning the skills and having a toolbox to help people help themselves to better mental health and well-being. So we've been really not said no to anyone. We've trained everybody across the system. Okay, next one. We did some pre-post surveying to look at changes in knowledge, importance and confidence. So on the left-hand side, so if you go, blue is pre-session, orange is post-session 1, grey is post-session 2, yellow is post-session 3. So you can see on the left that upward slope is a significant change in learners' perception of their knowledge to have conversations about mental well-being. And the one on the far right is a significant improvement in confidence. The middle one is really important because we asked how important do you think it is to have mental well-being conversations, and you can see that started high and remained high. And that's again that we see that all those people across the workforce all know that it's really important to have conversations about mental well-being with whoever they are, wherever they are in the system. So click on. And you know, there's loads of finds in, but I've just pulled out that the people really valued sort of practical engaging group work with lots of professional mix where everybody learnt off each other is something that everybody praised really highly. And the second thing was that people really liked practical, simple tools that they can use for the in their work roles. So those are the two key things that everybody said about the training. And if you just go on 2 more slides, so impact, lots of people qualitative stories and about the impact on practical professional life. Really find it valuable and really accessible, like I said, and just something, a very simple can-do approach to promoting mental well-being for people you're having conversations with. And then finally, of course, the other added value was that people found it really valuable for themselves, because it's no difference between the tools we were teaching people to use to help other people and the tools you can use for yourself. So lots of feedback about how it improved their own resilience, and they felt that it would really have an impact on their personal and professional life from them gaining more understanding and having more tools to promote their own mental health and well-being. That's it.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. That was really interesting. Obviously, I've done Connect5 training myself as a number of the team within the Healthy Workplace page, but it's really good to see the impact it's been having across the workforce, and I just definitely recommend it. I'm going to hand over to James now, who's going to talk through the Kent and Medway programme itself and how that will support workplaces in doing things around mental health and other health topics. So, James, over to you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for agreeing to come and talk today. I think back in 2017, I didn't realise how big a part of my life Connect5 was going to be, not just delivering a huge amount of sessions, but it's had a profound impact for me and my well-being as a trainer. So I definitely can attest to that. People kind of going on courses, and particularly around mental well-being, thinking this is going to be of a benefit for conversations you have with other people, actually having an impact for yourself as well. And we can only really help people when we're in a position of strength ourselves, and that's something that really does resonate through Connect5. So my name is James Flower. I'm the Healthy Setting Programme Manager for Medway Council, and I've been in discussion with KCC for a little while now about expanding our Medway Workplace Health Programme to Kent, and we're really pleased today to launch the Kent and Medway Workplace Health Programme as a partnership between Medway Council and Kent County Council. We've been operating in Medway for around 2 years, finding our feet, testing and trialling and developing our programme, and we're very pleased to be launching it across all of Kent. So welcome to all of you today to the offer that we're going to be putting before you. The theme for this session, which I think I'm kicking on, has been around mental well-being, and obviously mental well-being is hugely important, as Elizabeth's done a fantastic job kind of illustrating. The programme does cover all areas of health, and we try to look at it holistically. Today's focus is mental well-being, and we'll look to repeat more presentations later in the year on some of the other topics. I just want to take a little bit of time for the moment to see maybe how mental well-being and the offer around Connect5 fits with our broader programme, and how we can make more workforces across Kent healthier and with better equipped staff to be more resilient to the challenges and the pressures that are around us, and make sure that we're not contributing to any kind of a detrimental health impact because of the type of work or how we treat our staff. So our programme operates in a kind of a 3-step area. We have very much tried to take on board all of the feedback from businesses who we've worked with previously and ones who we aspire to work with, to make sure that the programme's adaptable, because your organisational staff's needs are going to vary hugely depending on your industry, your working conditions, what your profile is of people. It's absolutely going to change between everyone. I've yet to meet one business which is completely alike. We've tried to reflect that in the programme. So we only have in the first area, the bronze pledge, 10 key core pledges which are the same across all of the piece. And then in the second session for the silver and gold awards, that's where we reflect a change in the type of organisation, so that pledges can be made to improve people's well-being, unique to them, and then platinum will come on to later. So Michelle, if you take us to the bronze bit, I'll just explain a little more about bronze. So bronze, this is really the foundation, because I regularly get asked, James, how do I make my workforce healthy, and how do we create a culture of wellness? And those are the types of things people talk about instantly instilling a culture. And unfortunately, it's not something you can buy. It's very much a journey. And when we go to Stuart later on, hopefully that will be something that he kind of able to come through. I'd say there he represents a workplace with a fantastic culture, but it's been a real journey to get there. And all journeys start with a strong foundation. And we know from national evidence that there are some fundamental basics that all workplaces should put in place. Many of them will already be in situ for your workplace, but this is an opportunity to potentially refresh them, look at what the current best practice is, and that's something that we're happy to help with. So it looks at kind of needs assessment policy checklists. In here, we also use and make available a workforce survey. You might want to mention in the chat if you already survey your staff. I'm sure you do, around how they're doing, what type of needs they have for kind of staff benefits, and how the organisation is going to be changing and so on. We can make a survey available to understand their wider wellbeing needs, to understand what the workforce's makeup is around stop smoking, what kind of smoking prevalence, how physically active, how prepared people are to take breaks, how prepared people are to engage in activity sessions that are being done at work. And we use that data to feed back to each of the workplaces who's involved in the programme a profile, which you can then use to target and tailor your own wellbeing programs, because they need to be led and owned by you. At no point are we looking to impose anything upon anyone and say that this is what you should be doing. I think this is a fantastic point at the Bronze Award to actually engage staff and create a staff wellbeing forum if that's something that you've not already got. If you wouldn't mind moving on to the next bit. But this is where we want most of our businesses to be spending their time, is really considering how they can improve the wellbeing offer for their staff. We've identified kind of 8 key areas where we've hosted our pledges, and mental wellbeing fits as its own domain around mental wellbeing and management of stress. But we've also got some kind of other headliners on there, which will certainly be of interest to many organisations, around musculoskeletal health and screening for cancers, the management of absence and turnover, stopping smoking, a huge one. We know from colleagues that we've never seen as many people directing themselves to stop smoking services as we have at the moment. Obviously, I think the risk factors for COVID, it's very well known. So it's a real boon of people quitting, and hopefully we're going to see that smoking prevalence drop yet further. Healthy eating and weight management, physical activity, and something that I'm really passionate about. And I think if we weren't in the midst of a global pandemic, we'd probably be talking about the environment sustainability a little bit more than we already have been. And we need to reflect that that's also something that impacts our staff wellbeing. So you can see a huge host of different areas that we encourage people to make pledges under. Each pledge area has between around 7 and 20, I think the top one, pledges. So there's certainly going to be something of benefit for everyone. And what we've tried to do is, for each of those pledges, create a resource pack that's easy for a workplace to implement. So I'll give the hypothetical situation around mental wellbeing and stress. Does the workforce deliver or receive training around mental wellbeing? Well, we're about to launch today a totally free Connect5 mental wellbeing training sessions, around 8, that's going to be delivered over November, December and January. And that's something we'll make available to all of the people who are part of the programme, and be available to book onto from today. And Michelle will be circulating the booking guidance for that later on after the session. And that's something that we're doing throughout the year across lots of different topics. I've previously managed the substance misuse agenda, and we've delivered specific training about equipping managers with the skills to have conversations about alcohol use. It's something that people we identified needed a little bit of assistance with. It was seen as a taboo topic. Should I be talking about people's alcohol usage? Well, if it's impacting their well-being and their health and their performance at work, absolutely. And it can be done in a way which isn't negative, doesn't create any kind of a conflict, and is actually supportive in the same way we would if it was someone's physical needs or their mental needs. So if we move on to the next one. We have another area of the programme, which is our platinum businesses. And platinum is a really interesting one. We've not put a slide in there for it, but it's all around social value and how organisations can take their game of looking after their workforce to a new level. So I'm sure there'll be organisations that have a huge host of pledges and things that they already do, But as soon as we start to think about actually what's my workforce's ability to impact society or families of my workers, we start to see a real change in how people perform at work. And it can lead to volunteering opportunities. And Stuart represents Grain National Grid LNG, and he's going to be doing a little talk about his experience with the programme and National Grid's experience of delivering a workplace health programme in a little while. And they were our first platinum winner, and I absolutely attest to how well they've done. And I'd certainly happily go and work there if I didn't enjoy my job too much, Stuart. So over to the next one. So on to the benefits of the programme. I think it's clear to see that through the workplace programme, there's going to be a huge amount of resource made available to businesses who are joining the programme. But we come at it from your needs and what we want to help you to achieve. We tend to umbrella them into the kind of the classic reduction of sickness absence, increased productivity, increased staff engagement, and interestingly, increased willingness to make healthy changes. We support evaluations throughout the training programme, and one of the things that we use in the Bronze Award acts as like a benchmark for later evaluations that we conduct after gold or when we're at a platinum level. And we see significant increases in staff engagement. And for anyone who works in HR, we know that that's a critical indicator for workforce wellbeing and how your staff are performing. People who don't engage are really doing their job to their kind of best performance standards. So we have a broad offer. It's had to vary a little bit during COVID. We've had to find our feet and adapt our kind of engagement. Michelle and the team used to regularly go and have face-to-face meetings and get to know people and their workforces. That's naturally been made more difficult, but the resources are still absolutely there, and we're using new kind of ways of working, such as Microsoft Teams, and today's testament to how we very much see the programme moving forward, for making sure that experts like Elizabeth and the knowledge that she has are able to be communicated to all of our businesses and passed on to staff in a way that's going to be accessible. And so that fits with how we use our newsletters. Training, we'll be delivering a lot of the Connect5 electronically, and we've adapted with Elizabeth kind of the model of using some online training. And where possible, when we can return to face-to-face, we'll go to that as well. I think Nick, someone just said that I've delivered a Connect5 for them before. So yes, it's something that we've been running for a little while, and we're looking forward to getting back out there and speaking to everyone. But we don't ignore some of the less glamorous parts. Policies are critical. I often think that they're the thing that survives us if we move on to new roles, new organisations, and they're a way of actually demonstrating that things are already ingrained and in place when people are working for or joining an organisation. So if we move forward. Super. So these slides show, as Michelle mentioned earlier on, will be made available. You will have all hopefully had an opportunity to visit our Healthy Workplace website. You can use that to sign up to join the programme if you've not already done so. We're going to be hosting two sessions, one on the 28th of October and one on the 3rd of November for Q&As, where we'll be really happy to find out about your organisation and perhaps talk about how you can take the programme forward and take any kind of recommendations and advice from us. If we just move forward one more. We're going to now move on to Stuart. And so Stuart has, I should say, he doesn't know this, but I was very pleased to receive an email notifying me that Stuart had received a nationally recognised award from This Can Happen in the last 2 weeks. So, and not only is he received the Most Inspiring Employee of the Year for a national award around his continuing efforts to improve wellbeing at National Grid, but Grain National Grid also received an award itself for Wellbeing Team of the Year. So absolutely fantastic job, Stuart. Well done. And I'm sure I see Ricky's just put an applause up there. I'm sure everyone will say well done as well from all the other places. But I look forward to your presentation, Stuart, because I think it's a really inspiring story for what Grain LNG have done. And I'll pass over to you.
Thank you very much, James. Good afternoon, everyone. Just want to say, if you do see the video of This Can Happen, I didn't realise, otherwise I would have done my hair and makeup for it. But so I'm a bit of a state, not as trim as what I am today. So anyway, sorry, I digress. My name's Stuart Clack, and I work for National Grid, and we're a small part of National Grid called Grain LNG. And basically we store natural gas, which is kept at minus 160 degrees centigrade, and we can hold up to a fifth of the British gas supply. The LNG is imported via ships, comes from all over the world, primarily sort of the Middle East area. And we're an operational site, so we're open 24/7, 365 days a year. We have 6 shift teams, and we've got roughly about 150 FTEs and 50 long-term contractors. But I just want to put this in perspective. Although we are a large physical site, actually within National Grid, we're not that big as in headcount. And a lot of our wellbeing initiatives are sort of based in the Midlands and that Midland-centric sort of area. So when we first started our journey, it was a chance email to Medway Council to ask about for some resources, so we, you know, some leaflets and things to give out. But since then, the relationship's grown, we've learnt more and we've progressed, and we've gone on. So as I said, we started off in 2013. Through that time, we've run a few campaigns. Some of them come from National Grid directly, the Central Health and Wellbeing team. Some of them come from myself and running events with the assistance of Medway Council and Public Health team. Then in 2016, I progressed on and I personally became a Better Medway champion. And this is evolved into doing some other things for the community. And then when the programme launched in 2018 for the Workplace Wellbeing Awards, we signed up and carried on through that sort of process. But over those years, we've done quite a few different events, but some of the bits that we've had supplied to us are things like smoothie bikes. We've had the chatty benching, we've had the pop-up stop smoking shop, we've won a Wellbeing Awards, Connect5 training, and health screening. And I think it was last year, it seems such a long time ago, we actually sponsored a public health award for mental health as well, which was presented by James and Michelle's boss, and Ricky's, obviously. If you can move on, please. So this is our mental health journey. So back in December 2014, National Grid nationally signed the Time to Change pledge. And as I said, a lot of that sort of focused centrally within the Midlands area, around the head office, and that. So we wanted to see what we could do down in Grain, which they think is the middle of nowhere, but don't realise it's, you know, 25 minutes, 30 minutes from London. But anyway, so through our connections with the council, we went on and we arranged mental health light courses. And then we've had people come in from Mind. I contacted Mind, West Kent Mind, and they sent someone in who gave a talk. And this guy, he just captivated everyone. It was an amazing talk. And that's really what started getting us on our mental health journey. Then we've sort of progressed and we've done the mental health training. This is all a free resource through Medway Council. We've had the line managers training, and we went on to celebrate or recognise World Mental Health Day. Going on from that, we've tried to influence our contractors and done mental health sessions and awareness at our contractor safety days, and we've also had poster campaigns where we display how many first aiders they are and potential contact numbers if you wish to seek assistance. But this all comes from the top as well. Our manager for head of UK LNG, Simon Colkin, he made a video in 2016 about suicide, and the amount of deaths from suicide. And I think the key point to that is we spend millions and millions of pounds in this country on safety and in engineering safety and things like that, but a fraction on trying to stop the deaths from suicides, which are many more than on building sites. And then in February 2015, we sort of entered the National Grid Recognised Chairman's Award. We've gone on, we've done some, it's not all about the big stuff either. Sometimes, you know, it's just that raising awareness. We've made adult colouring books just to sort of mark time to change, give people a chance, and it's a way to engage with people. Going on from that, we've run mental health courses, and this was a course we developed in conjunction with a company called Enact, and they basically use actors to bring scenarios to life. And that was trained out, really powerful session. One of the actors actually was in Peaky Blinders, behind the bar, but really powerful and really sort of comes across really well. We've done suicide prevention awareness, and we've brought that to Grain. We've gone externally and we've also brought it internally. We've had talks from Mind, and it's just that continuous, you know, on the agenda. But this is where we are now with Connect5, which personally I can't praise Connect5 enough. I've always struggled with mental health first aid because it's not like first aid in a physical sense, where Connect5 actually gives you some real tools to help someone with low well-being, low mental well-being. If you can move on, please. So why should you sign up? I was thinking about this when I made this slide up, and we've been fortunate that, you know, we've been doing this quite a few years now, so we've sort of found our own rhythm and managed to go you know, further. But these guys are the experts. You know, this program enables you to connect to experts in the field. Yeah, all the training you like, or I would like. At the end of the day, my profession is, originally I was an electrician, you know, but these guys, they're the experts. They can assist you, they can help you with training, they can introduce you to networks, education and guidance, support and advice. So I'd put them as experts. So for a company first starting out, if you are a company first starting out, it's a great place, and they're a great team to be able to lean on, to start getting those well-being sort of initiatives in place and starting to go ahead. And then actually it moves on to the company itself. And obviously this is for us, this is Grain LNG. We had some knowledge of well-being, you know, and through that sort of leaning on with the Medway Healthy Workplaces and now Kent Healthy Workplaces, we managed to build our own sort of increased sort of learning. We've networked, you know, they've educated us, and that's progressed on to working in conjunction with them before we sort of move on to that area of being able to run all this material yourself. So working with the team, we've entered Wellbeing Awards, we've shared networks, we've knowledge shared, supporting each other, and learning from the experts. So we've learned, and now we're learning together. So this has been not just Grain's journey, but I think about public health and the community's journey in general. And you know, through those connections, I've actually been involved with business in the community workshops, some of the toolkits that have been launched in Parliament, and this wouldn't have been possible without these connections and networks I've learned over the years. And then obviously we go on to the final area. This is where Grain LNG, we're actually running our own well-being and health program. You know, we can run initiatives. We do, physical challenge. It's not all about the big stuff. Sometimes it's the small stuff, but we're now helping and we're mentoring other companies, other areas, areas within National Grid as well. I was on a WebEx yesterday with colleagues in the Midlands who were asking, what did we do about our mental health approach? Because Grain has really become a go-to place within National Grid to learn about mental health. So that's why you should sign up. It's such a great program, and what we found is it's helped us highlight some of the areas that we had gaps on. So we've been able to close those gaps. So with the pledges, we've looked at it. We've looked at poor areas, and we've put interventions in place. So I would urge you to sign up because it's a great program. That's it. Thank you.
No, thank you, Stuart. Thank you for the huge plug for us. But obviously, what we help you with is only as successful as what you take and run with it in the workplace as well. So it's very much partnership working, as James mentioned in his slides. It's we've got to be led by you, really. You all know your own workforces better than we do. We'll come along with the best practice and the guidance and some pointers, but it's really for you to take and run with that in your workplace. Obviously, Grain are quite fortunate to have some budget for things, but all of our core services are free, and we do it with a number of local providers who will offer discounts for extra bits and pieces that you might want to take as well. When Stuart, you were running through your slides, it reminded me of one of the things that you introduced. Grain introduced something called bog blogs. It's probably one of my favourite things you've done, and I know a number of other businesses in Medway have taken it up as well. Obviously not at the moment with people working at home, but ordinarily when we're working in our offices and factories, the one place that everyone's going to visit during the day is obviously the toilet facilities. Having a notice board in the toilet with wellbeing information or helpline numbers that people can ring, it's the perfect place to display that. People can read it because they've got nothing else to read while they're washing their hands, or they can take a screenshot on their phone of a phone number that they might want to use in their own time. So that was a really small thing. As Stuart said, it's not always the big things, just a small initiatives made such a big difference to a lot of people. So thank you for that. We're nearly at the end of the session now, so if anyone has got any questions, do feel free to raise your hand. Ricky's doing a great job managing the chat function for us. James, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add.
No, nothing. I'll stick around if anyone does have any questions after the session finishes, but I'd just like to take the moment to thank Stuart and Elizabeth for their fantastic input today. It's been really, really, really welcome. We're extremely pleased to have such fantastic partners and close working relationships with kind of great people like such as yourselves. And thank you, Michelle and Ricky, for your support getting all of today together. And we look forward to kind of keeping an eye on the participant count. And it's very rare that you start a session with the same amount that you finish. So hopefully we've held your attention within the hour, and we look forward to kind of connecting with you all individually as we move forward. So thank you all for taking the time today. We know how busy everyone is, and we look forward to hearing about your workplace wellbeing journeys in due course. But yeah, do drop in on the Q&A sessions on the 28th or 3rd if you don't have time to ask anything now. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Yeah, so the Q&A session details there on the screen, along with the level 1 or session 1, as it's sometimes called, Connect5 date. So please feel free to take a screenshot of those and book onto any of interest. If you have got any questions that you want to ask now, that's great. Or you can also email us. The email address is workplacehealth@medway.gov.uk. So the programme is open to businesses anywhere in Kent and Medway, and it's just managed and delivered by Medway Council on behalf of KCC and Medway. So do send us any questions that you want to ask, or if you want to have a discussion about your own workplace after this meeting, drop us an email and we'll happily book something in for you. Yeah, otherwise take care. Feel free to exit the meeting and get on with the rest of your day. Any questions, please do shout.
Sure, I'll stop recording there as well.